everyone. It's Alistair Clark here from stuntlives.com. My next guest is a guy called Lee Sheward, stunt performer, stunt coordinator, and he used to perform in a circus as well. So I'll let him explain that in the interview. And yeah, he's just done so many films and TV series, and he's part of so many franchises as well. He's done part of the Doctor Who franchise. He's done some James Bond films, Indiana Jones films, some Batman films as well, and I think he mentioned to me as well that he fought Dracula and Frankenstein as well. So it's a pretty good CV. I think you'll agree. So yeah, watch this interview. Let me know what you think. He's got some great stories, and I think you'll just really enjoy listening to what he has to say. So I will catch up with you later. Thank you so much for joining me, Lee, on Stunt Lives. How have you been?
Fine, thank you. Yeah, no, wrapping up towards the end of 2023. Looking forward to 2024. Everyone's been quite quiet recently with the SAG strikes that have affected global production, but no, I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I was going to say to you about the strikes. Now they're finished, you can get back to work. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It has affected things production in Europe, but then on the other hand, a lot of other productions did keep going. So we've sort of carried on working this side of the water. Although our American friends have been riding it out, so they've been fighting the good fight, but to the detriment of their bank accounts. But Europe and England, I think we've been ticking over in the background.
Yep, fair enough. Okay, well, I was going to say, let's just start from the beginning, really. What made you get into stunts? Was, what influenced you to get into the stunt world?
So, long time ago, back in the early 70s, I was a hyperactive little boy and had a vermin imagination. But also my parents at the time would let me sit and watch John Wayne Westerns and obviously Bond films, Christmas, Easter, and big bank holidays. There was always a Bond film on the telly. So watching those as a young child, I got hooked on the sort of higher end genre of action and TV shows. And really from a young age, 7 or 8, wanted to pursue that as a career. Didn't understand that it was stunt performers that did this. But by the time I was certainly 9 or 10, I certainly did. And then at that point, I started hunting out how you became a stuntman and where the career ran. And my parents were very supportive. So they didn't just pat this little 10-year-old on the head and say, off you go. Yeah, of course you do. They were actually, okay, if that's what you want to do. And
yeah,
they supported it to me starting my career.
Yeah, okay. And now, you've obviously subsequently done some James Bond films as well.
Yes, over the years, I've done 2 Bond films, coordinated an underwater unit for 9 weeks on one of them, and worked on the other 2 as performers in various guises, seen and unseen. But also about just about every other franchise that has been made, from Superman, Batman, Indiana Jones. So yeah, over my career, I've Jason Bourne. I've done all the big franchises.
Yeah, because I was going to say to you, you did the Tim Burton Batman film from '89, and then also the Christopher Nolan one, The Dark Knight Rises. So it's just I like that. The synergy.
I said to someone not long ago, throughout my career, I've lost fights with Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Frankenstein's monster, and Dracula. So at the moment, I'm owed one. I've got to win, but at the moment, I've lost fights with everybody.
Oh dear. Yeah. Well, where to go next, though? That's the thing as well. I suppose the joy of your work. One thing you're, as you said, fighting Batman. The other thing you'd be fighting Dracula. Who knows what you're going to do next?
Yeah, but then you could get a call, and I've just finished the Christmas special of EastEnders for 2023. So you really. Within the film industry, stunt performers and extras are really the only 2 groups that work across all genres. You can get TV people that do TV, and commercial people that do commercials, and feature people that features. But stunts is a bit of a grey area, and as much as we work with all of those areas, we're actually quite a small section of the film industry. So as such, yeah, we cover a bit of everything. So yeah, one day you could be on a big Christopher Nolan Batman film, and the next day you're into EastEnders or The Bill, as it used to be.
Yeah. Okay. Because I was going to say I saw the EastEnders with the burning calf that you were involved with, the stunt coordinating, and then obviously George Smith as well was involved in that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, basically, what happened was a number of oh god, about 15 years ago, I got phoned up by someone to go down and roll a car, and I went onto the show, rolled the car successfully, and it just coincided with they wanted someone a bit more semi-permanent rather than keeping different people every day. So then for a number of years, I was sort of their regular stunt coordinator, and they were very loyal, and it's a very big family show up there. They're very lovely people. So I worked on it for many a year, but I could break away and do a film and come back in, and it was easily accessible. And it also coincided with my kids growing up. So while they were at school, I could drop them off at school, shoot up to EastEnders at Elstree, do some sequence and get back home, pick them up for school and come home again. Now they've all grown and left and they're having their own families. So I can go away and do other productions now.
Yeah. Okay. And are your children wanting to get into the stunt world as well?
Praise the Lord, no. My daughters were working in banking. She lives in America, and my son is actually a cameraman.
Okay.
So he's a Steadicam operator. But no, thank God they didn't want to get and follow me into anything. They obviously had every single opportunity growing up that they could do, and we had motorbikes and quad bikes and all sorts over around us, but and diving and horse riding and all sorts of things. But no, neither of them showed any aspirations to follow me, and at the moment I'm very glad with that.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. And you've done so many stunts as well as stunt coordinating. Do you have a preference which one you like doing?
Up until about 6 years ago, my performing days were still going strong. But basically, this industry gives you up, and you have a peak. So about 40, 45, you peak as a performer. I was told this when I just started out, and I went, well, that's all rubbish. What are you talking about? And obviously, there are people that go later into their careers still working. But about 40 or 45, you carry 20, 25 years of experience. You're still physically fit and able. So your performing days are still going strong. But now, no, my performing days are over. I gave up about 5, 6 years ago doing any performing. I just stick to either the coordinating or directing. I don't bounce like I used to, and recovery just takes so much longer.
Right. Okay. And do you, probably a difficult question here, but do you have as we said, you've done so many films and TV. Do you have a favorite stunt that you've performed, but and also a favorite stunt that you've coordinated as well?
Good question. I always get asked what's the most dangerous stunt or the favorite stunt. I mean, I've happy that when I gave up performing, I could tick every box. I've done every facet of stunt work, really, from high falls to fire to horses to many car rolls and crashes. I've hung off of hot air balloons. I've hung under helicopters. I've jumped from helicopters. I've done a lot of it, but all of it is memorable. And all of it, I'm glad to say I walked away virtually in a very long career unscathed. But there's no one thing. If it's a lovely summer's day, there's nothing nicer than being out riding around Camelot on a horse, cantering about. Such as on a cold, wet night when the roads are slippery, there's nothing nicer than sitting in a warm car, skidding around in a car chase. So it really depends on what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's nicer to have a team of people around you, other stunt performers and your friends, and having a good time. That's all. That's what it's all about now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So would you say, well, you obviously, because you're obviously part of the British Stunt Register as well, so you had those different disciplines that you had to sort of complete in order to progress in order to become a stunt performer. Would you say there was one that was more difficult to achieve than the other, or are they all quite difficult because you're under those stressful situations to try and pass that?
Yeah. I mean, I started, as I said earlier on, at a young age. I started at 9, 10 years old. I was a competitive swimmer, and did basic diving. uh, high diving. I moved on to scuba diving later on when I was 13. So from 9 or 10, I started training to be a stuntman, and I trained in many fields. I competed in modern pentathlon, so I fenced, rode, shot, run, and rode horses. As I mentioned, I scuba dived from 13. I did basic trampoline and gymnastics at school, so I had many of the skills already just from my school days. To the detriment of my education, I didn't do brilliantly well. I have dyslexia, so that didn't help. But then that alone sort of carried me through till I was 15, and then I joined the circus. So at the time, you needed to be a member of Equity, which was a tricky thing in the 80s. It was catch-22. You needed a job to get the card and the card to get the job. But I managed that, and then my mum got me a job on a feature film called Top Secret, doubling an actor who couldn't swim and dive, but they ended up giving me the job. So at 14, 15 was my first venture into film work.
Right.
And I played a part in the film called Top Secret, as I said, swimming and diving. So that's how I sort of got into it. But those skills bases ticked a lot of the skills that were required to join the stunt register as it was in '86. It's changed since. The Equity Stunt Register was disbanded in 2017, and the guys got together and reformed it in their own guise. But yeah, for many years I was a committee member, and I was the chairman for 5 years as well.
Okay, right. And the Top Secret film, was that the Val Kilmer film?
That's it, Val Kilmer, yeah.
Yeah.
Val Kilmer.
Yes. Right. Okay. And
Luca Brothers. Anyone that likes old comedy films like the airplane films, it was the parody of all the war films.
love it. Okay. Like the Naked Gun films as well.
Exactly. Same producers, same directors.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Oh no. And now I think they're latterly now the scary movies, or they did do the scary movies as well.
Okay. There
Yeah.
you go. Yeah. I did. I mean, Jerry, one of the directors, went on to do things like Ghost with Patrick Swayze, who many years later I doubled. So.
Okay. What was that film that you doubled him?
I doubled him 31 years ago, God bless his soul, on a feature film called City of Joy, which we shot in Calcutta, India.
Right.
It's all about the slums and the gangsters, and it's a bit of serious, heavy drama that we shot in India.
Okay. And I was going to say, with your job as well, you're traveling the world as well and seeing places that you wouldn't necessarily see as well, and that's a great experience as well.
Yeah, you do get to travel if you're lucky. I've just come back from the Dominican Republic shooting a Jameson's whiskey commercial with a friend of mine, Jamie Edgell. So we've just been out there for nearly 3 weeks. But in my career, yeah, I've been all over the world, US, Australia, Africa, all of Europe, Venezuela, Colombia, Caribbean, India, Thailand. So yeah, you do get to travel. Or I certainly have traveled in my career.
Yeah. Okay. Right. And you okay? So going back to when you said you joined the circus as well. How did that come about, and what sort of things would you have to do there?
So in the 80s, as I mentioned earlier, you have to be a member of Equity to join the stunt register, and you needed a job to get you the card. So my mother, bless her, found an ad in the local paper for Jerry Cottle's circus was holding auditions for new people to join the circus. So I was too young to do a lot of other things. It was literally just as I was 16. But off I went down, auditioned. They gave me a job. So for the next year, I was traveling around southern England with Jerry Cottle's circus, performing in the show. I got into various parts of performing. Did an aerial web act, cloud swing, teeterboard, and basic acrobatics. So that was me for the next year.
Right.
But all that experience carried right through for today, really. It's a broad. We're masters of many skills. So as long as you can grab bits of information from different things. So even to this day, as I say, I use knowledge that I learned in the circus all those years ago in my day-to-day stunt work.
Yeah. Okay. Right. And so yes, so you're stunt performer, stunt coordinator, and also a second unit director. Have you thought about becoming like directing a film yourself, being the main man?
Not it's not really my thing.
Mm.
I know that people are doing it. There's a lot of very successful stunt coordinators now that have moved into main unit directing, but I'm currently quite happy doing second unit and or the coordinating side of it. With main unit, unless you're very controlling, you aren't going to have the fun bits of work. So I'm still happy setting up car crashes and chases and wire rigs on rooftops and stuff, rather than getting into the drama and the story with the cast.
Mhm.
So I'm quite happy when the main unit leave and the second unit take over, and or they give us cameras and we go off and do our thing.
Mhm.
Um, that's much more my genre, my fun area.
Right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. And what would you say, it's probably to put you on the spot here, what would you say is the favourite stunt that you've seen performed by someone else, like on TV or film?
Oh, actually witnessed or my favourite stunt?
Or both, in fact. So, yeah, the one you've witnessed, but then also, yeah, you've seen as an observer just watching a film casually.
Oh God, that's a good question on witnessed. Well, certainly stunts that I've seen on films. I've got some classic ones that maybe many of your viewers won't understand. There's a film called Man Who Would Be King, and the first stuntman I ever actually physically met was a gentleman called Joe Powell, who's a bit of a legend in the British stunt industry, if you know what you're talking about. And he'd done some very hairy stunts in his career on films like Where Eagles Dare, and he did a fall on a film called Man Who Would Be King, doubling Sean Connery,
Mm.
where he had to walk out onto a rope bridge, which was then not on a release; it was physically cut, and he had to fall 90 feet into a ravine from a unstable object, a rope bridge, and the ravine that was built was 400 feet deep.
Oh,
So he's
God.
basically looking at a 400-foot drop, and he's got to hit a little target
Mm.
at 90 feet, which he did.
Wow.
Now, anyone that's done anything like this and understands what they're talking about will appreciate what that took to do.
Mhm.
But things like that are, to me, are great.
Yeah.
There's many other stunts I've seen that I appreciate. Um, Also, there's ones that many of the viewers won't really realize what went into it. For example, Vic Armstrong did a dismount from one of his horses onto a moving tank.
Yes.
But what he did was he rode the horse up onto a platform, a ridge above it, and then jumped off the horse and fell and landed on the top of the tank, which is a throwaway moment. In the film, it lasts 2 or 3 seconds.
Mhm.
But the skill, bravery, and planning that went into that was huge.
Mhm.
So something like that, those throwaway gags, which look great, but the audience really don't understand what went into it. I mean, as a rider, you've got to be on the correct leg, so that the stride of the horse helps you lift you, so that as you push, the horse is rising and it throws you. So
Yeah.
all these things,
Mm.
obviously, you've got to make it. If you don't, you're really going to hurt yourself.
Yeah, true.
And you're falling, 10, 12 feet flat onto a moving object. So things like that are really, really impressive to me.
Yeah.
Um, Actually witnessed, I've seen a lot of my colleagues do some amazing things. I've seen some very brave things. A friend of mine, I witnessed this, and I'll take my hat off to him to this day. A colleague of mine, Mark Southworth, had a unfortunate accident on Goldeneye and broke his back. We all visited him in the spinal unit hospital where he recovered. And about a year later, we went off to Russia to do a film called The Saint, again with Val Kilmer. And Mark was the Val Kilmer double, but had to perform a 120-foot fall off of a minaret tower
Mm.
in a skydive position. And that was his first stunt back.
Wow.
So he injured on Bond,
Mm.
year out, came back, and this is the first thing back. And I'll take my hat off to him. I went,
Yeah, yeah.
if you're going to come back, this is the way to come back. And his
Absolutely.
answer to me was, if I can do it, I can do it. And if I can't, then I'll be leaving the industry.
Mhm.
And God bless him, he did an amazing feat. So I take my hat off to him that day.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And and I think when speaking to other stunt performers as well, is that knowing your limits as well. So if you can't do it or you don't want to do it, then just own up to saying no, I don't want to do it. And I think that's so important. Mm.
100%. I drum that into a lot of performers when they work for me. What we're doing, make sure that you're happy with it. As much as I'll give you advice and I'll give you a recommendation of how I would do it, make sure that whenever you're performing a stunt, you are 100% happy in what you're doing. Because if you get injured, the only person you can sort of take that out of is in yourself. It's you got it wrong or you made a mistake. Where obviously you do have to trust other people.
Yep.
But if you're unsure about something and you're still going to do it, then you're a bit stupid. 18 years ago, I did a feature film in Morocco called Sahara. And we had the director, Brett Eisner, wanted me to recreate a classic Western scene where the goodies come galloping down the hill on their horses and jump on the side of a moving train, which to me, having watched hundreds of Westerns, was like, couldn't wait to do this. And then it turned around that we weren't using horses, we were using camels. So I took it on board, but that sequence alone, which is about 2.5 minutes in the film, took us 13 weeks to rehearse.
Wow.
Because first off, we had to get the right camels. Then we had to train the camels to get them fit, because camels are actually quite a lazy animal, and get them run fit so they could run at the same speed or get the train at the same speed as the camels, but we could run them for distances. And then practice jumping off of them. Yep. Then practice jumping off of them onto the side of a moving truck, because obviously we couldn't have access to the train, because they have to get used to the noise and what they're trying to do. And then finally rehearse and shoot with the train.
Yeah.
So that sequence alone, again, was 2 minutes in the movies, about more than 13 weeks. And 13 weeks, not just of a couple of us, there was probably 20, 25 people involved with that.
Yeah.
So it's a big sequence, which the audience weren't au fait with it.
Yeah.
Now it would all be CGI.
Of course, yeah.
I worked with a colleague the other day who just worked as one of the young Germans on the new Indiana Jones film, but the whole train sequence at the beginning is all CGI. The train's on a stage, it's all visual effects around them, wasn't moving, it's 10 feet from the ground.
Yep.
Where Cedric Prost, Jamie Edgell, Paul Heason and myself and Guillermo Alonso actually were rehearsing, and then they were shooting, jumping from real camels onto the side of a real train and then running along the top of it. It was interesting. I started riding when I was very young, and I came into the industry actually for riding. After I left the circus, I went into medieval jousting. So for a year, I toured southern England with a medieval jousting show, falling off, getting dragged, doing the basics of medieval jousting. And that started me on a film called Willow, which was my first job as a stuntman. So I came on with horses. Camels are completely different. So they're the only animal I know that you can run at about 25, 30 mile an hour in a straight line, but it turns its head back. It's trying to bite you, and it's looking at you, still running forward. So, and the run isn't like a horse. You can't sit to it and sit to the. It's they're called ships of the desert for a reason. So you have to get the running right. So yeah, it was a team effort, as I mentioned. Cedric Prost, the camel master in Morocco, had a team of his local guys getting them fit. But then it's also down to the performers to get that right. When we shot that, quite a funny story. He may get upset if he sees this interview, but Paul Heisman at the time was well into his 50s. And we were shooting on a huge train, diesel train locomotive that was going through the desert. We're doing about 30 mile an hour. So this thousands of tons of train rattling along. We had helicopters over above and V8 tracking cars chasing us with cameras and stuff. And the doubles, Cedric, Paul and Guillermo, were doing their thing, galloping along with the camels. But over the noise of all of this, all I can hear is Paul Heisman shouting at me, "I'm too effing old to be doing this." Which he's still moaning about today, and he's nearly 70. So it was fun memories, but
absolutely,
it was a good job. It was a fun.
Okay, wow, okay. But then the films that so you mentioned that film that will stand the test of time because it will look so realistic rather than those CGI type stunts or graphics. They age so badly that they don't hold up at all in the future.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're coming up to Christmas. I'll sit down over the Christmas period again and watch Ben-Hur, Cleopatra.
Yeah.
Lawrence of Arabia, Bridge on the River Nile, um,
Why wasn't it?
Bridge on the River Kwai, thank you. All the old classics again, and have done countless other times. With as a viewer, and thoroughly enjoy them. Having worked on things like Wonder Woman, which was a great film, but I don't think in 50 years we're all going to be sitting down again at Christmas watching Wonder Woman again. Because so much of it is visual effects and it's faked. Where the old days, even Errol Flynn, you go back to Steel watching Robin Hood, they're never going to beat it. It's still a classic.
Absolutely.
And again, as a young boy in the early 70s, these are the films I was watching, and that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, nice.
And Ivanhoe. I felt very lucky that some of these films I actually worked with the performers that are sadly no longer with us. So a whole different genre. Joe Powell, as I mentioned before, but you also have his brother Eddie Powell, Jerry Crampton, Alf Joint, all the legendary performers and coordinators that have been around and worked on these movies. I was lucky, very, very lucky to have worked with them in my early career. Sadly, they've gone.
Okay. Well, there's that film, that documentary. I think it's a British
Hollywood Bulldogs.
The Hollywood, and I just loved seeing those old stunts and those old stunt performers. They were just amazing.
I actually emailed the director John and said to him, "Congratulations, this should have been made years ago." Unfortunately, even now, some of the people in that documentary are no longer with us. A good friend of mine, Richard Hammett, passed away earlier this year. Richard was in that documentary, so he's no longer with us. And I know they edited Dougie Robinson was in that originally, but they cut him out because he passed away shortly afterwards as well. Frank Henson's no longer with us. Austin's no longer with us. So all those guys they're God bless them, but they're flagging fast. There's only a few of them left.
Right. And okay, so what advice, if you were going to partake any advice to someone that wanted to get into the stunt world, what would you give that advice?
As I briefly touched on at the beginning of the interview, I came from a background where I did as many sports and activities as I possibly could. So that would be my main advice. Don't listen to people that say you can't do it. Stick to your dream and push on for that. But try and get as broad a spectrum as possible. There are hundreds and hundreds of 5'6" gymnasts all trying to be stuntmen with a one background, but come into it open and with as many options to your armory as possible. So make sure just literally try everything: bikes, horses, cars, firefalls, and sport-wise, trampolining, fencing, and do some of the unusual things. I mean, if you're trying to find a rollerblader or roller skater in this day and age, is quite difficult. Everyone seems to be doing the same thing. So if you've got something that some people can't do, then that's good. But literally do everything: jet skis, horses, parachuting, windsurfing, anything, every single thing you can get, because you'll learn from each bit of it. If you just come in as a martial artist, say, "Oh, now I'm a stuntman," it just doesn't work. Because they then can't drive or can't ride or can't fight.
And I think that reminded me, actually, you said about doing something unusual like roller skating. That just reminded me of some others do have them.
That's exactly the point I'm trying to take. I mean, I coordinated. We did a Red Nose Day, and they reshot the Michael Crawford roller skating thing going under a truck and stuff. And give him his due, he was in his 70s and he did it. He had no double. But I've mentioned already Jamie Edgell, but Jamie's a very good friend of mine and was in Starlight Express in the 80s. And so he's a great roller skater. And we use that skill all the time. I actually give him cameras, on Planet, give him a camera on roller skate so he can roller skate and chase people and things. So all of these skills, you never know when you're going to come into it. And Jamie had to retrain Michael to get him up to speed with roller skating because he hadn't been on skates in 40 years. But he did, and we came back and trained him, and we did an amazing little sequence, which people can find on YouTube. If they Google, some others do have them, Red Nose Day, you can see the whole sequence.
Okay.
But every single bit of that is his. I tried to double him just for lying on the floor with a pair of legs, and he went, "Nope, I'm doing that." He did everything. An incredible man.
Wow. Okay. And that's the thing. I completely forgot he was a Phantom of the Opera as well. Like the
Yeah,
original Phantom of the Opera is just like wow.
yeah, yeah. He ain't a bad singer.
Yeah. Right. Okay. And then one final thing, Lee. If people wanted to know more about yourself, the work that you do you have like a website that people could go on and YouTube?
Yeah, my website's just my name, leesheward.com. Obviously, the IMDb gives a full breakdown of most things that people have done, or just Google. If you Google, I think there's another Lee Sheward in Canada. There's a nice doctor lady. I've never spoken to her, but we've swapped messages occasionally. She Googled her name and I lit up. So she was, I think she's a dentist or a doctor anyway.
Right.
It's just
Okay.
Canadian Lee Sheward. Other than that, it's me. So,
Okay. I like the contrast of
I'm
being
quite easy to find.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I like the contrast of being a doctor as well as a stunt performer as well. So
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully, I won't ever need her help. But
yeah, exactly.
you never know. You never know.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Lee, for your time. I really appreciate it. And your stories are just great, and your films are great as well. And I just implore people to watch your films, the work that you've done, like the stunt performing as well as the coordinating. I just think it's brilliant.
Thank you very much. You're very, very welcome. I've got a few things up my sleeve coming, so hopefully we'll keep the action rolling.
Definitely, definitely. Watch your space. Yeah. So there you have it, an interview with Lee Sheward. Completely forgot to mention in the intro and actually in the interview that he is actually did the stunts as well for one of my favourite films, Hot Fuzz as well. So if you haven't seen Hot Fuzz, I'd recommend you watching that. And he also done some James Bond films as well, which is pretty cool as well. Anyway, if you like what you see, feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Stunt Lives, or check me out on my social medias, stuntlives.com. It should be at Stunt Lives, not stuntlives.com, but my website is stuntlives.com, so check that out. If you've got any suggestions of any guests that you want me to interview, feel free to message me and leave a comment, leave a like as well. And if you've got any questions as well, if you want me to ask any specific questions to these stunt performers or stunt coordinators, let me know as well, because I'm pretty sure that they will be very receptive to any questions that will come to them. So anyway, that's enough for me, and I will catch up with you soon. Take care. Bye for now.